And so here we have the remarkable thing, which was that after your original drummer died, you got back together, did a
Yeah.
reunion show, discovered you loved playing, and then started recording more albums, all of which are brilliant and wonderful. It's truly remarkable what you have done. Let's talk about these albums as much as we can.
Okay.
First album that comes next is You're Not a Dream, 2008.
Yep.
I This isn't the song I want to talk about, but I did notice that you redid Corky. Corky is a very interesting song. That's off of the Mommyheads record.
Yeah.
You chose to redo that one. First of all, I don't like the lyrics to Corky. I really dislike the song, but what an earworm that thing is.
It's an earworm. Actually, those were the original demos that got signed to Geffen. So
Wow.
we took the original. We didn't have enough songs. We got back together. We were so happy, but we only had like three or four new songs. So we found the demos. I found the tracks. I remixed them, and we were just like, let's put them out. And so the impetus of what we got signed was in those tracks, and they were a little more like bubbling and sprightly. And so we like those versions. And Dirt, like there were these songs we played constantly that never come out.
Yeah.
So it was a little revisionist. We came back and we revised tracks and remixed them. So it was fun.
Well, the song I found most interesting on that album is Washing Machine, this crazy devil story. I want you to talk about that. It's just, I was like listening again and I'm like, what is happening in this song? Is this a dream?
Yeah, so we loved playing that live. We played it all through the 90s. Just gorgeous, fun song, all in minor. It's one of those lyrics where we're just jamming and I'm writing, I bring in the chord structure and then we turn it into this beautiful woven fabric and then I'm just consciousness coming out. And I just it was about a kid who sets a barn on fire by accident and runs out and his dog's stuck in there and he's seeing his dog and his dog's going to burn up and then the fire stop and the devil goes, "Do you want your dog?" And he goes, "Yes." And he goes, "Well, I want your soul." And it's just this, he decides to play a trick or something. He tells the devil he can have his soul. And I forget the rest of it, but he gets his dog back. And the fire has burned the barn up and he has his dog. And then he just figures out a way around it.
Okay.
And it's a fun lyric.
I've been manipulated by this story of the poor kid and his dog, okay? My heart is hurting for the kid.
Yeah, so
But the fact is, it's such a weird song and a strange story that it's not really manipulative. It's just a great story and kind of
yeah,
it
it's
has
fun.
a dream
I think
quality.
the devil feels bad because it's a kid or something and lets him go or gives him a pass. I can't remember the rest of it.
The lyrics all make it sound like you basically wrote a dream down that you'd had. I don't suppose
It
that's,
is it is kind of like, yeah, I love those. I love those.
yeah. Well, it was 3 years before you did it again. And it was Delicate Friction. I found this one very Queen-like or Maroon 5-like. Another Adam in play here, Adam Levine, whose birthday is also today, I will point
Oh,
out.
oh.
Yep. And yeah, talk about Delicate Friction.
Yeah, so we became friends with Someone Still Loves You, Boris Yeltsin. They were just enamored with knowing us because we were their favorite band in high school, and they were 10 years younger, so we felt like mentors. Another reason why we came back, what gave us some wind in our sails is I was a tape op, and the keyboardist of Death Cab was there, and he shook my hand and said, "You guys need to get back together. We loved your music." And so we had all these like this lineage that we realized we didn't want to cut the cord. And Delicate Friction was just a lyric about us, like getting back together and the specialness of being together. And it's delicate and there's friction. We argue so it's really just like that, euphoria of playing together again.
Nice. The song I liked most on this one was Courtyard. The chord progression on that song,
Ah,
amazing.
Michael, keyboard player, loves it. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a gorgeous song. I think we re-recorded it. It was another version, but so many beautiful visuals in that. Again, it's another song that epitomizes us. And sometimes Mike, we feel like he wants to retire or do something else, and we're just like, no, come into the city, let's record, because we each embody this sound separately and together. And without him, it feels like it's not the same. And that song embodies us and him. It's a gorgeous song.
Yeah. Well, the next year you came back with Vulnerable Boy. Now, I've already talked about how much I love Coming Into Beauty, but that album I can't call my favorite just because it's just special. Vulnerable Boy is my favorite of your other albums. It's just, I really truly love this album. The textures on this album are sterling. If I had to play one album for someone and say this is the Mommyheads, this is the one I'd play them. I
Amen.
love the whole record. It's a well constructed record, but it's not just well constructed. It's beautiful. I can't say enough about how much I love this record.
We feel the same way. I think I was having marital issues at the time. My wife and I were fighting. We weren't sure what was going to happen. We just had our kids, and sometimes when you have kids and you're not prepared, it gets rocky.
Yeah.
Postpartum for the relationship, and my insecurity about that was all over the lyrics, and it was almost like a second Saturn return of emotional feelings about life and stuff. And also another thing was the drummer. I didn't know Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, and the drummer's like, "You gotta listen to it." I was an '80s like
Really?
Abacab fan.
You hadn't heard that one yet.
I didn't know it. I had heard some of the hits off of it, and as I was going through the stuff with my marriage, I would walk to work. I'd walk a mile or two, and I'd listen to the live version of it. There's a live version of Lamb. It's a compilation of the rare compilation of all the live stuff. Every day for hours, nothing else, for a
Hmm.
whole summer. And at the end of it, I had vulnerable, like the V Boy was in my thoughts. I had the whole thing rolling out. And On a Clear Night is about my wife when she was younger and what I imagined her life to be like. And Give Me Silence was about just static and the internet. And it just all came out. And the main track 4, is about being a musician and feeling like you're on the outside looking in, just a weirdo. A Medicine Show, sorry.
Yeah.
That's like a very like a peak for us as a band. And you just have moments where you feel like everything just like aligns. And it's like that moment on Medicine Show is when you're with the gun and you have your target and they say, take a breath and pull the trigger. After you take the breath, that's the moment where you're not going to shake the gun. And that's that moment for us.
Oh,
And I think people respond to it, and you have, which is awesome. I love that.
yeah.
But it's a moment where all the stars align and you make a piece of art and someone's going to respond.
And
So it's a
so
good
the
thing.
influences are harder to hear on it. It sounds more original. Not that I mind, saying, "Oh, listen to that ELO lick," or listen to that, Led Zeppelin bit. But in this case, it really does sound like it's coming straight from you.
Yeah, and after that record, we felt like we can have fun and
Yeah.
emulate our heroes because we had gotten the original stuff out. We were like, okay, this thing is an identifiable piece of art. So then we can do Woke Up a Scientist and just not,
Well,
um,
I haven't talked about the song, the least interesting song on the album, in my opinion, but still fun. Nobody gives a damn about your band. Uh,
it doesn't fit, and we just never put it out. And we got slack for that. Some Swedish friends of ours hate it. It had nowhere to go. It was like a bonus track, whatever.
is that song addressed to yourselves or to someone else?
It was written in the '90s. We just needed it. We wanted that. That to me was the closest we'd have to a hit on
That's
call.
right. That's your song.
That's our song. And believe it or not, if you don't listen to Vulnerable Boy and you just listen to that song, you're like, oh, they're cool. It's like Wilco. It's fun. It's a hit. But if on that record, it's a standout. Like, no, no, no. Why'd you do that?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay.
the same reaction a lot of people have had, which is great. I love it.
The next album took you another. It was like 2018. What was with the gap there? You were doing.
I took 5 years off to start a business.
Okay.
I said to them, I need 5 years. And on the day we got back in the studio,
Yeah.
it
Wow.
just, yeah. I'm like, I'm good.
This album is called Soundtrack to the World's End. And yeah, there's so many grooves on this album. It really is. It is, like you said, just a lot of fun.
Yeah, we just had fun. Home on the Moon.
Uh, Glimpsing is the song that I chose from this. It's in 7/8, but it grooves so well that you don't actually notice. And that's kind of what you were saying when you don't hear the math, that's good prog. This is a great example of that. I'm like, oh, that's in 7/8. Wow.
That's our drummer. He knows how to play over the 7/8 groove to make it seem flawless. And it's a very intense song. It's very determined. I felt back with that song. I felt like, okay, we're back. Let's do this. So yeah,
Yeah.
glad you picked up on that one.
the next album followed it the next year. Actually, it's every year after that. So in 2019, Future You. This song starts off with a Queen song. In fact, it's such a Queen song that you even quote "You're my best friend" at the very end. I hope that was intentional because it sure sounded intentional.
I was a little pissed off because the Queen movie came out, and I'd been a Queen fan for years, but I always got ridiculed, like they were too glam or too over the top or too flamboyant. And then all of a sudden, these like 18-year-olds were singing Queen songs because of that movie. And I'm like, okay, I'm writing a Queen song. But if you look at just the chords, it's just a regular song until the end.
Yeah.
And the lyrics stand up. It's about my son who would just wake up he'd take a nap and wake up. I'm going to be a scientist, or I'm going to be cure cancer, or I'm going to be a auto mechanic. And so I just went with it.
Yeah, and it's very touching. It's like, again, there aren't so many of your songs that are concrete that you can say, I know what this is about. But you kind of know. I didn't know it was about your son, but I guessed, and it's very touching. It's neat. As a dad, I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool.
He's on the cover. He's
Oh
got goggles and he's got a microscope in front of him in the cover. It was fun.
yeah. Now the rest of the album is just a King Crimson album.
Yeah, right. That's true. 80s King Crimson, man. You can't
Yeah.
beat it. A lot of counterpoint. Oh, there's one on there. One Drop of Beauty, I think is maybe not King Crimson. But it could be construed as European sounding.
Yeah.
Um,
And I love King Crimson, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. I
oh
don't
yeah,
really listen to their catalog, and I'm like, wow, where's this been all my life? So
cool. Yeah.
again, like you, another band, album after album, you're like, how can this keep coming? Where's this coming from? You know,
Amazing.
where's it been? Right. So
Love that band.
yeah. Uh, so after that came Future You. No, we were talking about Future. New Kings of Pop, excuse
Yep.
me. New Kings of Pop, of course, there's some irony there. It's kind of an ironic statement. We are the kings of a non-existent kingdom kind of thing.
Yes.
It's also a
Yes.
proclamation. We're as good as this reimagining of Prague as we say we are. So it's kind of both. Would you agree?
Oh yeah. Like I felt like we were back finally and we were bold and I felt comfortable. We were all comfortable in our middle-aged bodies and minds. Like, we're super middle-aged men. It felt like we were on a roll and this is easy and this is fun and I love that title because I started to realize like paying bills is hard, balancing your checkbook's hard, everything's hard. But when we got in the studio, it just would flow out. We'd have a record in 2 weekends. And people were like, how long did that take you? Years? And I'm like, no, 2 weekends. And so we felt like little superheroes in our own world. And why not call it New Kings of Pop?
Right. But
And
you
and
had fun
for a
with
lot of
it
people,
too.
like making art and is so hard. Like, oh, mind blow.
Right.
They're like great accountants or they're great this or they're great that. They've got that on lockdown. But for us, we to get together four guys and just effortlessly make music was it really is cool and astounding.
Yeah,
So
and deserved. I mean, you've done the work. So, not a lot of bands that have gained that level of experience bother to do what you've done.
it's our life. It's a life force on its own. I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely cherish it.
I have two songs off this record. I could
Okay.
not resist. Uh, New Kings of Pop, Delusions Are the Only Way to Make It to the Top. I understand, are you, I'm also a compulsive creator. And, as I've gotten recently, my delusions have been kind of fading. The flicker has been going out as I lose my ability to have delusions. And I'm noticing that effect on my creativity. For 40 years, I was like, yeah, I've got to write this book. Someone's going to read it. Yeah, I've got to write this song. Someone will be sad it's not here. Now I'm like, maybe not. Maybe no one will ever hear this. And I'm like, well, maybe I should get my delusions back because, you need them.
Delusions are as good for you as protein or as carbohydrates when you yeah it for me delusions are it's part of a balanced diet
Yeah.
and you miss them when they're gone. You feel dehydrated.
Well, how do you balance see, for me, as great as the delusions were, they also kept me from looking at some things in my real life. They were both a buffer in a good way and a buffer in a bad way. And I've really spent a lot of time trying to have the delusions when I want them and not lean on them. Do you struggle with that too? Do you lose yourself in your own world at the expense of people in your life and things?
Oh yeah, it's been a problem. um being a present parent. I'm a great parent, but sometimes I'm not that present because I'm changing a lyric in my head.
Yeah.
I've always had to work on it. Being a good husband, being a present husband. Um, yeah, in order to make something in your life you feel good about, that you feel strong, that could stand on its own, something's going to suffer.
Wow.
Your health, your relationships, um, and if you can get a groove where they suffer the least, and you can still make art you love, then you got a good groove, and you're making your delusions work for you, not work against you.
Man, thank you very much.
Yeah.
The other song is Forensic Hero Deconstruction. And I'm hearing Elvis Costello in there. And I wondered, were you mocking your audience? Were you mocking yourself? Or were you speaking to another band there?
That's just, oh my God, there was so many deconstructing of people like Woody Allen. Like now I can't watch his movies. Michael Jackson, no, I can't listen to his music. And I started to feel like every artist is a psychopath. And if you really want to get to know them, you're not going to like what you find. So stick with the art. And so that was us being so shocked that Freud was weird or that, Scriabin had a foot fetish. Like, let it go. It takes a weirdo to make all these gorgeous symphonies and write The Shining. It's like these are artists, and give yourself a break while you're at it. And so, yeah, let's stop deconstructing everybody. Let's not throw stones. Let's not assume we're so perfect that we can write people out of society. Now, granted, some people have done massively awful things, but now we know them. Great. I can't listen to Michael Jackson, but even like the artists that I really really respect are the ones like John Lennon that knew he was a jerk, knew he was horrible to women and horrible to this and this and that, and then he tried to change it.
Yeah.
And he had Yoko, and he wrote music to celebrate women all of a sudden. And when you see them admit it and use their art as therapy and use their process in their life and their fan base as a therapeutic process, it's hard to dislike them. And that's the forensic hero deconstruction. If you really love an artist, don't dig in. Don't read the book.
Well, in general, I agree with you, but I am finding it troublesome in a couple of situations. I don't want to name names tonight. I think it would just be put a bad taste in our mouth. But there are a
Sure.
couple of people I can think of who have it's whose work is stupendous and meant a lot to me. But now that I know what they have done, the reason it taints it is because their work was everything against what they did. In other words,
Right.
I needed their work because it gave me a message. It was educational. It was mollifying. And now I find that they didn't actually believe these amazing truths that they spoke. And that's problematical for me. The truths are still there. The work is still great. But, there's something lost in that. And I'm not sure how to parse that.
I could parse it. If you meet someone who's dying from alcoholism and had a horrible life and did terrible things, and in their few moments with you gave you some wisdom, the polarity of the wisdom for them is trying to make up for a life that they're not proud of.
Hmm.
When an artist, through their art, has to counterbalance, there's beauty in the art, exceptional beauty because there was zero beauty in their life. It was a ballast. And we get the art and we're like, oh my God, what is this? This is incredible. Oh, the guy cut his ear off and he molested people and and we're intrigued by the car crash of a life that they had. And then we don't agree with it. If we just got the beauty part, that's them giving us some wisdom and that was their ballast. They're just imparting what kept them afloat. Had they not had such a horrible life, they may have not done extreme beauty. To have some extreme pain and callousness and awfulness. So do you want the art to be a tool in your life to help heal you? Do you want to do you want it to take you to another dimension and just use it as what it was intended to, which was, or do you really want to know the whole story and why it's so beautiful? You may not like what you get. Um, it's like going into a five-star Michelin star restaurant and eating beef stroganoff that's the best you've ever had, and then as you're eating it, they're showing you pictures of the cow being mutilated, giving its life for that dish. No culinary person would ever do that. They have to separate themselves from the butchering of that animal. They see the art. They see the chef's life in that dish. The whole life is in that dish. So if you don't, what the problem now is we need to know so much information that we go insane. And then we feel guilty for liking art. Because if you need to have art that's only made by Puritans, you're going to have a lot of boring art. It's going to be hymns with no lyrics,
Right.
So there's a ballast to the human nature, and if you take the parts that you need, it's so much better. If you get the whole thing, it's not good. And so that's that forensic hero deconstruction. It's like, you know, if we really dig, we may find out that Jesus Christ was a hitman. Do we want to know? His image helps so many people. Why? Why do we need to keep digging?
Yeah.
So,
That's a good answer. I appreciate that. I
yeah.
will carry that with me.